20 years ago, the SAG committee for the new upcoming awards ceremony for the Screen Actors Guild approached American Fine Arts Foundry to help them in the creation of an award. We worked with them to develop the idea of a sculpture that could be created and reproduced as a special edition that would be unique and follow the traditional lost wax casting process that is normally reserved for the fine art community. We first pour wax into the mold and then let it solidify. Once the wax is hardened, it's removed from the mold, and in this case the arms had to be separated from the body, and so those had to be molded separately, and therefore each piece has its own unique wax. Once the waxes are out of the mold, they have to then be prepared to advance through the rest of the process, and so we call this step wax chasing. And really what we're doing is removing the seam lines and filling any air bubbles that occurred when the pouring of the wax, and making sure that the surface texture matches what was on the original sculpture. On this piece, we also have to reattach the arms, which is done with a hot iron. We slightly melt the wax and reattach them. The next step is to attach the channels, which we call gates, risers, and sprues, to allow for the wax to be removed from the temporary mold that will soon be created, and also to provide the channels that allows the molten bronze to flow into the mold. You'll notice the part she's holding is what we call the cup, and that also serves as a funnel to direct the flow of the bronze into the workpiece. It also acts as a heat sink, which helps to control the cooling of the piece after it's been poured in metal. The next step is to create the temporary shell. This is a temporary mold which is built one layer at a time and provides a one-use mold that will produce the final casting. Each casting has to be produced by dipping the workpiece, the wax, into the liquid, which acts as an adhesive. The piece is then dipped into sand and coated with a fine dusting all the way around, and then it's allowed to dry for approximately 24 hours. This step has to happen typically 8 times on a piece this size. Once the shell or temporary mold has been dried, the next step is to heat it up and remove the wax. This is where the process gets its name, lost wax casting. What's going to be left behind is a perfect negative image of the original piece. After the wax has been removed from the shell is put into the oven to warm it up to casting temperature of approximately 1500 degrees. While that's happening, the foundryman is preparing the bronze in the crucible, melting that to approximately 2000 degrees. It takes about 3 hours to melt the bronze to pouring temp. When the bronze is ready, it has to be poured quickly. After the bronze is cooled, the shell, or the temporary mold, has to be removed. And what's left behind is our first view of our bronze sculpture. If you remember to the wax process, we added the gates. Those gates have now been turned into bronze, and we have to remove those. And the areas where they connect have to be metal chased to resurface those areas back and blend them into the surrounding area. Once the bronze has been metal chased, all the detail and all the texture has now been captured in the final bronze. The next step is to send it for patina. The patina that was chosen for the actor is a 2-step process. The first color that goes down essentially acts as a base coat, and it's a dark color which allows for a modeling effect to be created in the final piece. The second coat, which is a verdigris color, allows the piece to have more transparency and a little bit more definition, which further enhances the interest of the piece. After the patina is finished and the piece has been allowed to cool again, it is mounted to a stone base. In this case, it's granite. After the metal work has been completed and the piece has passed its quality control inspection, the actor is now deserving of receiving its own unique number. Actor 775 is ready to go to the Screen Actors Guild Awards.